Tamam, baş.
Buyurun.
Bəhram başlayaq.
Bəli, bəli.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone who is now joining us, and especially our guests from the different countries which is joined us today's video conference. I'm Nergis Khalaf, the member and secretary of the Council of State Support NGOs under the auspices of the President of Azerbaijan. So as a council, we decided to hold this video conference in this very historical and very challenging process in the world, which is not really easy for each of us, for each of the countries. Perhaps there were a period which we just read about the pandemic from the books of the about the history, but today we are the part of this history. We are the part of this very challenging process in the world. So I think, and our team as a council, we think that the solidarity, the unity of the people, not only our country, and of course people of the world, different countries will be better to get together, to be together, to support each other, because this period not only, I mean, physically a challenging period. This is also very hard psychological period as well. So it means that we should support each other on morality way. We should support each other psychological way. So I want to very briefly to inform our guests the situation in Azerbaijan. I will be very briefly. I know that each of us have less time. At first, I have to say that I think we really were very lucky that Azerbaijan government moved a little bit swiftly, and this is the reason that, of course, it's sad that we have these cases, but anyway, when we see some other countries in the world, it's a little bit lucky that only 33 test cases has Azerbaijan. So, and all this swiftly moving now is help for the citizens of Azerbaijan. And you know, especially the lockdown is a very hard process for the people, because people used to be to communicate with each other, to be together each other, and today this lockdown process is really affect to all the people in the world, especially who are enjoying their job, enjoying their life, enjoying their families. So and of course, in this whole process for our council, we got together, and the main thing that as a council we tried to get together the NGOs of Azerbaijan, and very fruitful case in this, that I can give an example how our NGOs voluntarily, they just wanted to help the people who need very valuable population of our country, and I mean especially the regions of our country, and food aid help from our NGOs. It was really very appreciable, and the council each time we were the one of the first institutions which donate to the foundation, which is now at this moment struggling for the coronavirus. And one of the main thing for us, as I already said, that we thought that will be better to join some countries, NGOs, some countries, civil society environment together. And thank you. I want really to say huge thank to the countries which shaked our hand and wanted to join this process, this solidarity process, this unity process. And I don't want to talk a lot because each of our guests will share their opinions. So want to give more space to our guests. And first, I would like to introduce to our participants of this video conference, our guest from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Mr. Jasmin Imanovic. He's the head of the Association of Breach of Friendship. It would be really interesting to know the situation in that country as well, and also especially the civil society action in this period. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Jasmin Imanovic.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, I greet you warmly from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I am Jasmin Imanovic. I'm glad to participate in the conference. I wrote my presentation, so I will read it. Coronavirus in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Currently in Bosnia and Herzegovina is about 2,123 infected, 112 died, 1,109 recovered, 914 active were tested. When we talk about the outbreak of the coronavirus in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the first cases of infection with the COVID-19 virus were recorded in Banja Luka on March 5, 2020. It was father and son. The school the child attends is currently closed, and children who were estimated to have been tested for the presence of the virus. By March 24, the number of people infected with the coronavirus in Bosnia and Herzegovina had reached 150, and by the end of April, almost 1,800. In the time that has elapsed since the first cases of infection were identified, the World Health Organization has established close cooperation with health institutions in Bosnia and Herzegovina to ensure readiness to combat the spread of the infection through the establishment of various protocols and guidelines for action. In the period that followed, the epidemic gained momentum and affected all parts of the country. Crisis headquarters have been established and epidemiological surveillance measures have been introduced at the borders of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also within the borders of the state. This was followed by a series of various measures taken by the authorities at various levels to slow down the spread of COVID-19, which included declaring a state of emergency at the Bosnia and Herzegovina level, closing educational institutions, numerous service activities, and all other non-essential activities for survival, increased border control of entry in the country. Economic measures. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic caused negative economic consequences that previously fell in gross domestic product, GDP, employment, public revenues, investment, and exports. To show that in the past few weeks, Bosnia and Herzegovina has additionally borrowed close to 333 million euro from the IMF to help businessmen. The decline in employment is immediately felt in Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 2 months, the number of employees is reduced by about 15,000, which is very worrying. Of the total number of unemployed, the female population dominates. Thanks to the measures taken by authorities and thanks to the friendly state that helped with many and the medical equipment, virus COVID-19 was almost shut down in Bosnia and Herzegovina. A positive example of concrete support is the Republic of Azerbaijan, which donated €550,000 and donation of medical equipment of great value. After the battle with the virus COVID-19, we all have a battle with the economic crisis ahead of us. Coronavirus has a negative impact on global economy and consequently in Bosnia and Herzegovina, with the exception of the general decline in economic activity, the collapse of air traffic, other indirect consequences, perhaps the most serious threat to economies. It can be said that supply chains are blocked. The chance for economic recovery in the strengthening of domestic potentials and quality international cooperation. Economic analysts are pessimistic when it comes to economic recovery, but I am an optimist. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Imamovic. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time. I know that it's how to say that this is a lockdown period, but anyway, each of us have a lot of to do. So that's why thanks a lot, and I hope that this joint solidarity conference for future will continue, and we will do something very interesting together. And now I would like to give a floor to Mr. İlyas Topsakal from Turkey. He's the professor of Istanbul University, and it was really interesting to know the situation to our neighbor country. I know a lot of people that as a students they have their education in Turkey, so that's why I think the situation is not really easy in Turkey as well. So Mr. Topsakal, I would like to give a floor to you.
Thank you very much, Nergis Hanım. Dear participants, we are here today to discuss the effect of the COVID-19 virus, which has deeply affected our work for the past 3 months, and to set out the right option for our work. I hereby sincerely congratulate the Council of the State Sport NGO and the Real TV, which organized this meeting under the auspices of the Presidency of the Republic of Azerbaijan. In addition, I would like to offer my warmest greeting to you from Turkey. The coronavirus, as it's known, first appeared in China's Wuhan province. Currently, there are discussed that the World Health Organization has obtained the necessary information about this virus from the first day too late. Since the first day, Turkey has applied strict follow-up activity to be as little affected by the virus as possible. In this context, Turkey initially restricted flight to area where the virus spread. And when the spread of the virus increased, Since the first day, Turkey has applied strict follow-up activity to be as little affected by the virus as possible. In this context, Turkey initially restricted flight to area where the virus spread, and when the spread of the virus initially restricted flight to area where the virus spread, and when the spread of the virus increased, it completely cancelled flight. Turkey has also made great effort to bring back its citizens who live and work around the world to their homes. Alongside the same responsibility, it also helped to bring the citizens of the friendly and brotherly countries back to their homes, like Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Turkey, just like all the countries, undoubtedly has been subject to relentless attack of the virus, and the slow course in this first day has reached its peak in April, middle of April. Turkey has tried isolation with its own method. It has provided isolation by following contacts around people who are sick. In this way, risky areas are controlled, and the virus is trapped in the short time. In addition, the virus center Istanbul, other major cities have been shut down and control has been made continuous. Curfew imposed from time to time have ensured that spread is kept to a minimum level so that hospitals do not trouble serving patients. In the last 2 weeks, the number of daily infection has been fixed between 1,000 and 2,000. In addition, the number of patients in need of the intensive care remained at the same level. Those who have recovered have quadrupled the number of daily cases so that the virus impact rate is maximally restricted. However, considering the contagious nature of this deadly virus, it's mandatory to comply with the measures at the highest level. We as NGOs are not only interested in the health of the virus, there will be many areas that the pandemic presents as new to our world. After the pandemic, the world will create a new social life order alongside a new economic order. People will need psychological support in this context. Creating livable environments should be the first task of the NGOs, especially for the needy individuals. In this context, this activity of Azerbaijan is very important to me. Here, I would like to share my thought as Deputy Chairman of the Federation of Turkish Children's Games to give an example. One of our federations aims to show a livable world for our children to play, mainly in neighboring countries, including Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Bulgaristan, Greece, etc. On this occasion, our President Mehmet Mutlu has seen a big fest with the children's game track in 6 cities of Azerbaijan 3 months ago. On this tour, a big holiday was held with the participation of thousands of our children. Our children's game tracks will continue their joint play activities in all friendly and neighbor countries. Thus, our children will find sport in the playground after the pandemic. Dear participants, so I appreciate all of you for listening to me, and especially I would like to thank to the Nergis Hanım for bringing us together. Again, thank you, all of you, for caring our world. Thank you very much, Nergis Hanım.
Thank you so much, İlyas Bey, for your very warm words and for your opinions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate for having your time. Now I would like to give a floor to Mr. Ioannis from the Greece. Is he now joined us?
Nergis xanım, Ioannis hələ qoşulmayıb. Növbəti iştirakçıya siz keçin.
Okay. Now, perhaps now he's not, he doesn't join. So now I want to give a floor to Mrs. Anja from the European Youth Parliament. Are you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, great. So she's the member of European Youth Parliament, and Europe is the big continent, which is so many countries and so many different nationalities are living together, and a lot of migrants. So I think the case is not really easy for you, and it will be interesting to hear about the situation from your side as well.
Okay, first of all, hello everyone, my name is Aina. I come from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I'm here as a representative of European Youth Parliament, which is an NGO working in more than 40 countries all over Europe. So I focus more on Bosnia and Herzegovina as a country who got the first confirmed case of COVID-19 on March 5th. Afterwards, the situation has gone much worse, but considering everything that this country took, all the measurements, it's okay. So currently there is 2,141 confirmed cases in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Out of 1,114 are recovered and 113 deaths. About 42.3 K people have tested, and 57% of them are contained. Anyways, so now as I'm still a high school student, I am almost 18 years old. So I will tell you a bit more from my perspective and everything that COVID-19 caused the situation from the economical aspect. So to be fair, Bosnia and Herzegovina was quite unprepared for this crisis. At the end of 2019, we had the slowdown in the economic activity, which led to a decrease in the forecast of modest economic growth, which is around 2 or 3% annually. That is what is particularly problematic is the fact that budgets are quite limited. As such, in the Bosnian Federation, the pension fund was transferred to the budget. Also, one of the things that happened was that consequences of the COVID-19 first felt way back in January, due to the fact that China is an important foreign trade partner to Bosnia and Herzegovina. But the real problem became in March, when the first case happened and when the entire situation got a bit worse. So in March, to this line of the foreign trade activity with Italy, which is one of the 5 largest export markets of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the entire economical situation and GDP of Bosnia and Herzegovina has gone down. So looking back to the statistics from bigger economics from entire Europe, they say that COVID-19 could have the same results or almost the same results as the Great Depression in 1930s. So most of the major economies will lose at least 2.4% of the value from their gross domestic product with GDP by reducing 2020 forecasts of global economic growth down to around 3.0% to 2.4%. Speaking on behalf of Bosnia and Herzegovina, travel and tourism, which were at quite higher level from the last time, which is 1995, we increased the tourism by 20%, and right now it is going down because of the coronavirus. Also, but taking in consideration that all of this I stated were some negative effects of the coronavirus on Bosnia and Herzegovina, on the global aspect, we could use coronavirus in some positive aspects from its benefits. So some of them are, for example, the e-commerce, food retail, and healthcare industry. And also the European Space Agency has registered an impressive fall in pollution around the European skies, which means that the entire, those are some small parts that we don't hear that often, but do play a role because some of the sectors, some of the parts have especially gotten better than before the coronavirus. So I think I covered some of the areas that haven't been covered before. So I would just like to lastly thank you all for gathering us here and for giving me an opportunity to say something from my side of point and from my perspective, as well as including the Bosnia and Herzegovina in this, which is a country, quite smaller country, and something that I personally don't have that often the chance to do. So again, thank you very much for bringing me here.
Thank you so much. And I really like that how you could see the positive sides of this coronavirus pandemic, because to see the positive side, all of this situation, challenging situation, it's really nice. and I wish good luck in all your future work. Now I would like to give a floor to Russian Foundation, Mrs. Leysan Sultangaliyeva. First of all, I want to say that perhaps one big example could give the Council, State Support Council, because the State Support Council joined with the Russian Foundation Belarus. We got together and hold very interesting campaigning, which as a result of this campaigning, more than 3,000 at the age of 65 plus people got benefit on this. And I want to, it will be better if Mrs. Leysan will talk about this campaigning more. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Do you hear me?
Okay, hi.
Okay.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, my name is Lisan and I represent the International Fund Velикая Русь. Russia and Azerbaijan are tied historically. Azerbaijan is a very important strategic partner of Russia. The relations between these two countries are based on the principles of equal rights and tight economical boundaries. The campaign of our fund is a good example of this strong, good relationship. Our fund is young and developing. The main aim of our fund was the development of inbound cultural tourism in Russia. But as you know, in spring, things have changed a lot for people, and we started our new campaign. The campaign is called Immunity Race. As you know, many people, authorities and businesses in our country and in all other countries help to elderly people and to economically disadvantaged people. In our country, for example, they deliver food baskets to people. Usually these food baskets contain basic need products such as flour, rice, buckwheat, sugar, some canned food, etc. Our fund also provides these people with food baskets, but the content of this food basket was developed under doctor's recommendations. Our basket contains vitamin products that are highly important these days. The basket contains such things as apples, oranges, lemons, ginger, nuts, dried fruit, everything which contains vitamins. As you know, these products don't grow in Russia, and all these products are imported, so the cost is very high. So elderly people usually don't buy these things and they can't afford these things. So I think, we think that they strongly need these vitamins to have their strong immunity system. This campaign was organized by really concerned people. And our team was very small at the very beginning, but it's not so small now. We have got 1,200 volunteers in 11 cities in Russia, in Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan. We get support from mayors of the cities, from public figures, from politicians and famous people, who also joined our action. At the present moment, 11,200 people got these food baskets, got these vitamin baskets. We passed the torch to Azerbaijan, torch of vitamin race to Azerbaijan, and we are really thankful for organization on this highest level. This is our first common project, but we hope that in future we will have more collaboration, more projects. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for getting together in this very serious and difficult situation.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Leysan, and thank you so much for information about our joint campaigning as well. And I want to say that yes, from Azerbaijan side, it was not really easy because that statistics which you selected, they are like we have grow all these things in Azerbaijan, so that's why price is not really high. But anyway, it's not easy to get together to buy all of these things, to have like to select all this money to be in the families which vulnerable families in this very hard period. So that's why the campaigning was not really easy. And from here, I want to say huge thanks to the 28 NGOs which exactly joined to this campaigning and did really great job, which, as I said, that more than 3,000 people got benefit from this. So thank you so much, Mrs. Leysan. And now I would like to give a floor to United Kingdom, Mrs. Natalie Weiss. She's from the NGO of United UK, and I have a lot of my friends which they live in UK, and for them also really hard to feel all this lockdown period. And each time when we are keeping touch and they are sharing their opinions and how it's really hard to feel all this situation. So Mrs. Natalie, I would like to hear you.
Hi, thank you for inviting me to your conference. It's really nice to be speaking alongside so many esteemed people. Quite nerve-wracking as well. I guess from the UK's perspective, we are now one of the highest death tolls in the world. So we have had 32,000 deaths due to coronavirus. About 250,000 people have caught COVID-19. In retrospect, we do have 66 million people in the UK, so the figures probably would be high from our perspective. I think from a country perspective, our biggest downfall was probably not predicting how quickly it would get to the UK. We have a little bit of an island mentality, and actually the first time it clicked in my mind that it was a much bigger problem was we were holding an event at the Azerbaijan embassy and we had to cancel our event. And for me that was just really strange, because this idea of having to stop your usual day-to-day activity, events, things like that, it's just very bizarre. In terms of reacting, as I said to start with, we were quite slow, and now after our curve of infection rates has flattened, we're again in a situation of ambiguity. Our lockdown hasn't been as restrictive as many other European countries. We've been allowed to go out to exercise, no restrictions on shopping, kind of a lot of personal responsibility of just making sure we don't go near people and we don't go out as often as we can. The general population of London especially has adapted very well to online working from home. I think being a country that has lots of connections across the world, we're used to a level of online working anyway. I know for me it hasn't made that much difference. I think especially from working in an NGO where we do projects with other countries, which is quite a normal thing. The lockdown has affected people's mental health though, who are not used to this scenario. Unfortunately, domestic violence rates have gone up in the UK, and that's not really something that people are being able to help with either because of social distancing rules. And there's also problems with where we have lots of immigration, people not being on record to receive supplies of food, homelessness, aren't receiving the things that actually our country is very good at implementing. So making sure people are well and people are being fed. From a ground level, I've found that the majority of the support for the people in the UK that are the worst affected are coming from individuals, very localised NGOs, so voluntary groups. We have a local volunteer centre who is distributing on behalf of our local government, and they have been very, very good. Local businesses have been supporting. Really interestingly, again, for the UK, we've had to have lots of international support for things like protective clothing for hospitals. We received a huge donation from Turkey earlier on in our crisis because we just didn't have the supplies. Being a country that doesn't manufacture as much as a lot of Europe, we were kind of stuck in a position where we couldn't get hold of the things that we needed after this had happened all over the world previous to us. But negativity aside, it's really interesting being part of this conference because actually the opportunity, I think one of the other speakers mentioned earlier, of actually using this experience as an opportunity to talk to other nations and to improve our connections abroad without having to travel. Making sure that we are powerful as a world collective rather than individual countries. And I think it's shown that where the effort has been towards an unseeable threat for us, actually joining with other countries in trying to defeat this has been very, very natural. Just a little bit of insight into what I'm doing as part of my NGO. So the No Collective is actually a creative agency, and we found that although there is a lot of government support for food distribution and health, actually the people that aren't receiving the help from government that others are creative practitioners, so people that are in entertainment, people that are in art and design. A lot of artists are freelance, they won't have a 9-to-5 job, so they won't be supported by the government at the moment. So we're trying to create projects that enhance well-being on a local scale, so improve people's mental health through creativity, so providing work for people that aren't in work at the moment and can't do entertainment or events or art exhibitions, and giving them the opportunity to create projects for people that are at home that need a bit of community support. And I think that's it from me. News in terms of GDP, today it was announced that the UK's GDP has fallen by 2% since the outbreak of COVID-19. And we have just come out of flattening the curve of COVID-19, which means a further 3 weeks of lockdown and then a potential moving back into normal society, however that may look.
Thank you so much. And Mrs. Natalie, that was really a good example that UK got support from different countries and also from Turkey as well. So it means that in this situation, that's so nice that different countries, they are like supporting each other. And what was really interesting that you said that in this period, the domestic violence more increased. That was a really interesting point to me, and if you don't mind, we'll be better after to talk more about in this on this case, and that point was really interesting to me.
Of course, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And
Fransa və Slovakiyanı ötürərikdə biz onu sona saxlayaq hələ ki. Texniki problem. Ukraynaya keçək.
Okay. So now, okay. Now I'm giving the floor to the Ukraine. Our Mrs. Maria Tushenko. She's the head of the NGO, and that's really nice that our representatives are exactly from the civil society, because the strengthness of civil society is really for the community is huge. And of course, it's very interesting to hear the voice of civil society from the Ukraine as well. And also we have two persons from Ukraine, and also Mrs. Katarina as well. So they are okay, and very, very interesting. Okay, so if it's possible, we would like to hear Mrs. Maria Tushenko.
Hello, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for invitation to this event. It's very important, of course, to know the situation not from inside but outside of each country. I think so. And I'm head of NGO Poruch. And these days we finished our research with UN Women. And this research is gender assessment, rapid gender assessment. And the situation now in Ukraine, that we have 60,425 infected people, but at the same time we have recovery with 3,760 people, but unfortunately little 468 people. And the situation right now, which we are focused on, all NGOs are active in this situation. And for example, our NGO, we did research and cover all Ukraine with this research, and we know the situation from the fields, from our amalgamated communities. And what is the situation now? It's that economically, of course, affected after all this coronavirus appear in Ukraine. Our men and women told about the problems with psychological support and transportation. And the gender roles in our society a little bit changed. And I saw in a camera that someone, one man, care of child. So it's a great situation to change the roles right now, because the situation when we stay home change the role of man and woman. So right now increase the participation of men in the families, participation of child care. The same time, the situation is quite different in rural area and in towns. Because in rural area we have accessibility to a lot of products, but in big towns the accessibility for vulnerable groups unfortunately not so good. And we focus mostly on vulnerable groups such as 65 plus and interiorly displaced people, because what we which information we got from interiorly displaced women, that they feel the same psychologically as it was the beginning of anti-terroristic operation in our country. And the demographic situation in our country, that men live in 10 years less than women. So now we have also problem, of course, with the situation of coronavirus, and economically active people feel not so good, because we have economically active women 56% and 68% are economically active men. And in huge business 22.7% of women engaged, and in middle business 27.4%, and in small 22.7%. And 60% of women in our country, they are employed in education and healthcare. So the situation influenced, of course, to the social sphere so much, but a lot of administrations, local administrations, oblast, I mean administrations, accepted programs for support vulnerable groups, and we have 68% of such programs, local programs. And of course, what we recommend empathic communication for all authorities, local and government authorities, to do an empathy communication, because what what information we got from our research that 73.7% of information people got from social media and from official sites only 60.5%. And through advertisement in amalgamated communities, 58%. What our people need in amalgamated communities: medical support, equipment, of course, transportation, support in logistical questions and products. And our men and women answered the question which support they are waiting from. They are waiting support from family, from themselves, and from government. And also our vulnerable group told that they have lack of money. It's 54% of women, and they can't cover cost on basic things. So cover cost for food, for example. Restriction or complete inability to purchase protection against infection, and anxiety about healthcare and social services. But we have really good practice in our communities, and a lot of volunteers involved in the process of support these communities, and local government doing all possible and impossible. For example, social taxi and support with children, and distance education is in good level. And actually, NGO sector, what we are doing, we support in such researches, because it's very important to know the situation from the fields, and to give recommendation to our government. So maybe I will give floor to Katerina.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting. It is very important to take participant in such event. And I want to talk about cooperation between business, Ukrainian business, and government. Social initiatives in such situation is very important, and we have a lot of cases, but I will talk about a few examples because of time. So we have 3 taxi operators who transport medical workers to work and back to home for free. And we have one of the biggest delivery service operator who donated about $1 million for the purchase of medical equipment and personal protective equipment for hospitalities in one of the oblasts of Ukraine. And this operator donated 300,000 children books for children from vulnerable groups. One of the grocery chain of Ukraine has donated about $4 million for grocery package for vulnerable groups. Some representative of legal community, I mean attorneys, they cooperate and provide legal advices for free, pro bono, to health workers. We have a lot of cases from health workers. It's not only this case not connected not only with some library market, but in general administrative, or maybe it can be criminal cases, but it's pro bono for free for them. And in one of the regions of Ukraine, we have dressmakers who cooperate with Italian designers to sew the wedding dresses. And these dressmakers, they changed their profile and started sewing protective suits for medical workers. One of the biggest banks of Ukraine also donated for the purchase of individual lung ventilation devices for the hospitalities. It's only a few cases, and we have a lot of cases of social initiative, our businessmen and businesswomen. But I have not so much time, and I think it's a very good practice to help each one, because our government, I mean government not only in Ukraine, in general in the world, we unfortunately wouldn't ready for such situation, for such crisis, and cooperation in this time is very important. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time, and I'm glad to be with you.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Maria and Mrs. Katerina. That's really nice that you are having research about all the situation in your country. And I just want to remark 2 points which you've already mentioned. That's very important, the role of the volunteers, of course, which you have mentioned. Sometimes I think that what would be done with the world without these volunteers and without this very kindness people of the world, I think what they do really, it's very important and very huge thing for the vulnerable people of each of our country. And about the men's participation, I think that this one of the positive point of this all this crisis situation. I think for the families, it's good that the participation of men in the family is really increased. That could be somehow a positive point of all this situation. So as we have guests from France and Slovakia, and as I see that there is some technical problem from their side, so that will be better to give a floor to our guests from Poland. Toğrul, Polşa iştirak eləyir.
Bəli, Jerzak, please take a floor.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Jędrzej Chodziński, and I come from Poland. I am representing here the District Council of Kraków, as well as I'm working for the cooperation, business cooperation between Poland and Azerbaijan. I would like to first of all say a big thank you for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's very interesting to hear the discussion. Especially, I would like to thank Gulnara Bagirova, who has invited me here directly. So at first, I would like to say a few words how the situation looks like in Poland. So the first example of coronavirus happened in Poland on the 1st of March. And soon after that, so on the 13th of March, basically the whole country shut down. Most of the shops, apart from chemistries and supermarkets, were closed. All the restaurants were closed, hairdressers were closed, borders are also closed and still are closed. With Poland, there are very high limitations in traveling. So basically, not only we cannot go abroad, but also inside the country, it's quite difficult to travel, as well as most of the trains and buses were simply cancelled. Our government has introduced 4 steps of opening the economy, and that happened the first stage happened on the 20th of April, and that meant that finally there stopped being regulations in the amount of people who can visit supermarkets, because we had a very strict regulations that only 2 times the number of people of the tills. If there are, like, for example, 10 tills in the supermarket, so that means that 20 people can come inside the shops. That was the first regulation that was finally lifted. As well, we were able to go to parks and to forests. Later, they started to open more shops, including do-it-yourself shops, where you can buy materials to construct, etc. As well as they opened hotels, but only for, of course, for the Polish people, because we are still a closed country. Nobody can come here. The third stage happened actually today. It was announced like maybe 1 hour ago by the government. And it means that finally we can go to hairdressers. The hairdressers will be open, as well as the restaurants will be open. The restaurants will be open, the basics that there needs to be very big spaces between 2 tables, so at least 2 meters between the tables. And the 4th stage, it is predicted that will happen at the beginning of June. It will mean that the museums will be open, theaters, cinemas, as well as fitness centers and gyms. How the coronavirus affected the country and the people is very bad, especially in my city, so in Kraków. We are a very touristic city, and a lot of people, well, basically all the people who are working in restaurants and hotels, they basically just lost their jobs. So it's a very high unemployment now that we are facing. There is a governmental support for the people who lost their jobs. However, it's not working yet very, very well. So the situation is quite alarming. And what we are doing in the city, and that could be a very interesting example. So for example, all schools are closed, and all the lessons are now online. But however, not all kids have access to computers. Or for example, in a family where there are 3 kids, there are only 1 computer, only 2 computers. So there is no enough computers. So people started to collect computers on their own, like old computers, or companies started to give computers to the kids. Also, as a community, there is a very big movement of people who are willing to share their time and to do shopping for elderly people. As we all know, the elderly people are the most vulnerable. So a lot of neighbors, especially young neighbors, started to do shopping for the elderly. And that I see as a positive aspect of coronavirus, that we became much stronger as a community. We speak with each other much more, and we ask each other about our problems. Also, a good aspect could be that we gone through a very quick digitalization of the country, as right now everything, all the public meetings are held online. We can vote even in our parliament. It's possible now to vote online. That wasn't possible before. And right now it is possible. So that can also be seen as a positive aspect. From the negative aspects, nobody knows what will happen, as the economy is still quite badly shut down, and we don't know exactly when it will all finish. It is expected that the borders might open in the mid of June, but no one actually knows it yet, because it all depends on the amount of the people who get sick. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the points which you have mentioned, I think that it's almost common with the other countries as well. The tourism, the unemployment. So I think in each country this situation is the same. And but about the positive sides of this, that I think in each community, like people started more communicate with each other, not of course this communication by a digital side, but in any way, like people started to notice more about their problems, notice more about their moral situation, and etc. So yeah, we don't know till how long all this situation will continue, but anyway, try to get only positive sides of all this situation. So if France and Slovakia still couldn't join the conference?
Not yet, please, just we can focus.
Okay, so let's just continue with our other guests from the Russia, Mrs. Ekaterina, who is the member of the Civic Chamber of Russian Federation and head of the NGO Intercultural Communication and Civic Education. I just remembered one of the thoughts of the German philosopher Kant, which says that without culture always have to be first of us, before of us, because without morality, human being can't exist. So it's interesting NGO, and I would like to hear your voice, Mrs. Ekaterina.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? I think it should be working. Yes. Oh, that's good. That's good. So thank you for inviting me to take part in this conference. It's really good to hear different opinions and the current situation in different countries. And as you said, I live in the Republic of Karelia in the Russian Federation. And this is the region which is quite known for the touristic and cultural heritage, and this could be one of the reasons why we put a lot of efforts in the field of cultural work. So, but as you know, we all suffer from the pandemic situation, and in Russia we have more than 242,000 infected people. And at the same time, the level of infected people in big cities and different regions of Russia is very much different. So as I said, I live in the Republic of Karelia, and this is the region which has got at about 700,000 population. And for this population, we have only 188 cases of infected people, which is 10 times less than our neighbors from Leningrad region or from other regions. So this is one of the results of the good management from the government and from all the society. And the government is taking strict measures, and we started doing that on March 12th by closing schools and closing schools, universities, and kindergartens, and we stopped even the public transport, so the coronavirus infection couldn't spread within the republic, and it gave us time to prepare the medical system and all those logistic system for the pandemic situation. So as the result, right now we soften the measures, and starting from May 12, we are allowed to go for a walk, having the masks, and when you go out, and people can go for a walk, and the small businesses, they are opening so they can start their work, including barberies, including hairdresser, of course pharmacies and supermarkets, they continue working. And what is I think was maybe some kind of positive thing is that people, they
Hello?
Elnur, Behram, Elnur texniki bir problem baş verdi.
Okay, perhaps there is some technical problem from the side of Mrs. Ekaterina. It's okay. So this is the reality of the online conferences. So of course, me personally, I always love to direct communication between the people. But I think that the new world for us, for the future, mostly will be the online communication between us. But anyway, so all these things have a technical side, problem side as well, but it's okay.
Yeah, sorry for that.
Okay,
I pressed
okay.
the wrong button.
Back.
Yeah, so the positive thing is the family. The families, they say that we did the research, and it shows that the families, they got much more attention to their children, to their family relationship, even though the online education for children, it really created a lot of difficulties. And as Eugene already mentioned, from Poland, and I think it's all over the world, when school children especially are not very much ready for online learning, it really a challenge. So what I've noticed is that the good cooperation for non-governmental organizations, parent communities, and teachers really help the children to go over that. So the government is helping the families with children, and it's really giving the feeling that you can go over that. It gives you more feeling of enthusiasm and positive thinking, as you said. And what is very important is that this year we're gonna celebrate 100 years in the Republic of Karelia of being part of the Russian Federation, and we're working hard on this event. And of course, a lot of people, they are involved, and they were very much upset that they had to cancel so many events, and it does not make people happy, but we continue working. So the new airport is working, and the medical centers are opening, and it really taught how people can continue working with all those measures of protection. So right now I see that people, they get more positive in the way that they can go over the coronavirus. It's not forever. It's just you have to take the measures of protection. You have to think of other people. You have to take care of other people, and this is what is uniting people. And I'm the member of the public chamber, and we work a lot with different non-governmental organizations. And what is amazing is that people, especially young people, they get involved into volunteer work by helping other people, and it's really the systematical work. So right now, when the government says that we help the business, we help the citizens, as well we help the non-governmental organizations which are holding a huge responsibility on other people's life. So it means real partnership when government, business, and volunteer organization work together. So this is the new experience that we learned, that we discovered, and I think this is the good step for non-governmental organizations to prove how they really bring the positive effect into social and economical development of the society. So I would like to thank again for the opportunity for taking part in this conference, and thank you for sharing your ideas.
Thank you, Ms. Ekaterina, especially for your positive ending of your speech. Of course, the positive side is, as you mentioned, the parents' participation in their children's life. It's really increased, and this is very nice. And about events, important events, which because of this coronavirus issue, they are just cancelled, and the same situation in our country. So that's why we can understand you. But anyway, I want at the end, this is not really end because we have 3 countries, but if still they have some technical problem, will be better to share with you the offer from our side, especially to the countries which is today in our conference as our guest. We just want to offer you to write a statement. We've already have that draft statement, but of course we want to share that document with you and to get your the opinions from your side as well. The statement, why we want to write the statement, because that's really good point that almost 10 countries are got together and they want really to join and to give an example as a solidarity. So this is a very good example for the other countries and for the other member of civil society as well. So we want exactly to mention this on the statement, and also if Bahram, if it's possible to show our statement at this moment in the screen. So Bahram, mümkündürsə bir də dokumenti ekrana göstərərdim.
Elnur, zəhmət olmasa
tamam, göstərsəz yaxşı olardı. Okay, and we know that this lockdown period will be continue with the post-pandemic period. So we can't run out of this. So I mean, after all this post-pandemic period, perhaps our economy, our different side of our community will have effect on this. And that's why it's very important to support and yes, we have draft a statement. In any case, we will send it to your mails to the participant countries, and also the Greece and the France and Slovakia participants as well, even though they couldn't at this moment join our online conference. So on this statement, we want to show again our unity, our solidarity, and that we are supporting each other. And if all of you don't mind, we want to share this statement to send to the World Health Organization And I don't know if this kind of solidarity unities at this moment they have in other countries as well, but I haven't heard about this. But if you don't mind, as I said, we want at the end to share it, to send it to the World Health Organization. We will send this statement to your emails, and of course, if you will have some additional points, or if you would like to change something, to add something, please just let us know. And from the name of all of us, we will send it to the World Health Organization. So total, if still other 3 countries can't join the
yes, we can't join still, we can follow
okay.
to the...
It's okay, it's normal, we can understand it. So now, if you don't mind, I would like to give a floor to some our national NGOs, which is they are working on this mentioned issue. And first, we have a National NGOs Forum, which is more than 600 NGOs are getting together in this platform. And I would like to give a floor to the Nushabe Mehmedova, which is the member of this NGO Forum, National NGO Forum. Nushabe Hanım, eşitirsiz bizi.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Nargis Hanım, dear conference participants. I greeting you all. I'd like to start my speech by thanking the organizer of the conference, the Council on State Support to NGOs under the auspices of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan. At the time when the countries of the world are isolated, the organization of virtual international relations, the exchange of experiences as well as brainstorming to eliminate the damage caused by the pandemic is of great importance. Great work is being done in our country, as you noted, Nargis Hanım, as well, to prevent the spread of the virus. As a coalition of more than 700 organizations today, I represent the Azerbaijan National NGO Forum. As an NGO Forum, we coordinate the activities of NGOs to fight against the pandemic. The coronavirus fighting headquarters has been established under the Azerbaijan National NGO Forum. There are 35 members, staff in carrying out public awareness and the monitoring activities in Baku and all the region of our country. I'd like to note their conference participants mention that even though countries around the world have been and applied the fight against the pandemic and the great forces were mobilized to save people from it, some unexpected steps came as a surprise. At the time when the world is being tested, the holding of so-called presidential and parliamentary election by Armenia on March 31st in occupied Nagorno-Karabakh region of Azerbaijan was assessed as a step contrary to international challenge in the fight against the pandemic. Of course, this step was strongly condemned by the international community and the world powers. They declared the election in the occupied territory of Azerbaijan illegal. Nevertheless, regardless of race, religions, continent, or nationality, we are citizens of the same planet. I think that along with all the pain, COVID-19 will leave its mark on the mind with the positive aspect and the most important level from immunity against the indifferent humanity. I would like to thank all your participants and thank for your attention, and I wish peace, stability, and strong health, all of you. Thank you.
And Shabakhan, thank you so much for very important information about our region. Thank you so much. And the next step is our other NGO representative is Meryem Tağıyeva. Meryem is the president of the integration Organization of Integration Azerbaijan Youth to Europe. Meryem, eşitirsiz məni?
Bəli. Salam, salamlayıram hər kəsi. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for having me here. And of course, in my turn, I would like to express my gratitude to the conference organizers, to the speakers, as well as to all the participants. And I believe this is truly crucial to have such meetings, even if online meetings, to share our experiences and to support each other in such difficult times. I join the previous speakers. I agree this is very challenging, but at the same time, I believe this is very opportunistic time that we're currently at. And of course, there are negative as well as positive aspects to the pandemic and the outcomes of the pandemic, such as the quarantine and the lockdowns in various parts of the world. Negative parts are, of course, the very worrying spike in the domestic violence and the disinformation that is going on in the social media, that is prevailing, I would say, in the social media. But when it comes to the positive aspects, I would, of course, mention the challenging of the traditional gender roles. So the fact that the families are now together and fathers are participating in the lives of the child raising more and more. So yeah, and I would also want to add to another positive aspect of the pandemic is this is of course the strengthening of the community, because as I said before, we're all in this together, and this is crucial when every member of the community comes and tries to initiate some kind of activity in order to support themselves and every other person, every other member of that community. Of course, I am the representative of a youth NGO here in Azerbaijan called AGAT, Integration of Azerbaijan Youth to Give Up Organization, and of course, following our establishment in 2007, we've been very active in this field. We have hosted a number of international as well as local initiatives and events. And given the current situation, we have decided to focus on the online presence. So we increased our digital presence. We are working on our social media accounts, and we have launched a campaign around a month ago. We have launched a campaign called Evde Hayat Var, that is, there is life at home. And this campaign, we are leading this campaign in two main directions. So the first direction is, of course, the mental health and trying to help our youngsters and our youth to cope mentally. And the second direction is, of course, exploring the opportunities, exploring the activities that you can do at home, mainly professional, increasing your professional skills. So we're alternating between these two directions. We are hosting weekly lives on Facebook, and so far it's been quite successful. So the average following, the average number of participants who join these weekly webinars of ours are approximately 2,000, 3,000 people, which is, I believe, is a very good trend. And we have noticed I would say that there's a spike in applications to our organization. So we are receiving these emails and this message is about joining the organization and contributing into this initiative, which I'm particularly very happy with. So that's about our activity, and I would like to wish good luck to everyone, and thank you very much for sharing your experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, and good luck in your NGO works for future. I would like to say that our the Council of State Support NGOs Council almost long time that we moved to the fully digital era, and Council we've established the system, SALIS system, and at this moment there are some SALIS system volunteers, and I want to give floor to the Khudaverdi Guliyev, which is the member of the SALIS Volunteer Public Union, and I think SALIS system is really a great example that no one couldn't imagine about this coronavirus period, but before that period we've already moved to this very digital, fully digital era. So Khudaverdi, can you hear me? Eşitirsiz məni, Khudaverdi?
I can, yes, I can.
Okay, please.
First of all, I would like to greet the participants of the meeting. My name is Khudaverdi. Thank you for having me in this video conference and giving me the chance to speak. As you know, we are newly created SALS volunteers who are volunteers of SALS civil society. Unfortunately, the early stage of our activity coincided with the quarantine regime created in connection with the quarantine regime and with global pandemic. Coronavirus has influenced Azerbaijan, and there are approximately 2,700 confirmed cases so far, including 33 death records. Thanks to preventive measures taken by the president of Mr. Ilham Aliyev of Azerbaijan, Mr. Ilham Aliyev, every field of public life was brought under control quickly. Then, upon the request of Mr. President, a general volunteer coordination system center was established and named as AKEM. AKEM is Azerbaijan Volunteers Coordination System, and by the way, I would like to mention that function of AKEM is not only intended for this particular period, and rather for following years as well. Considering the fact this year has been proclaimed to be the year of volunteers, as SALS volunteers, we participate in this initiative and try to show our support with our team. We show solidarity by providing food, medicine, and other things to thousands of families and people over 65 years old who need social assistance. And I think it was a very successful step. And on behalf of our volunteers, I would like to thank the head of council, Mr. Azeglev, and we will continue to aid, and I think it will be strengthen us even more. I would like to mention again that we should unite against any difficulties. Also, thank you for kind attention and time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't want to make you tired, and it's more than an hour that we are participating in this conference. So,
Bizdə Ramil İskəndərli və Ayaz Mirzəyev də söz istəyib. İmkan olsa onlar ingilis dilində qısa məlumat vermək istəyir.
Okay. So our guys now informed me that we have 2 extra national NGO representatives which they want to say their opinions as well. So Ayaz Mirzayev, if you are hearing me, please.
I'm here.
Azman, eşitirsiz?
First, yes. Yes.
Buyurun.
Firstly, I want to thank to head of the Council of State support NGOs under the auspice of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and Nargis Hanım for you also for your moderating and giving this opportunity to speak in this conversation. I want to thank. I want to say about my opinion about this situation. How was the coronavirus pandemic has been a disaster for every country, and all countries, including Azerbaijan, have tried to mobilize their own resources first and began to take the measures necessary to combat the pandemic. I can say that Azerbaijan is one of the countries that took the first preventive steps. It's a result of these steps that we are still in full control of the situation, and the number of those infected is quite low. Of course, in the current situation, to ensure and observe the quarantine regime is one of the main goals in the fight against the pandemic. I believe that every country saw in this difficult period and difficult conditions that some countries withdraw into themselves, others try to provide only the domestic market. Of course, all of us and the whole world are worried about the coronavirus pandemic today. Azerbaijan is demonstrating an exemplary approach in this area. And the head of the World Health Organization also appreciates the work done in the field of combating coronavirus in Azerbaijan. And of course, this is a high assessment of the work done. It's not easy to keep things under control today. This is our reality. We need to mobilize our efforts on protecting people's health. We can say that from the early days of the pandemic, there are no moments of doubt as regards of our choice. First, priority in the life and the health of the people. As for the economic situation, it was clear to everyone that the economy would suffer, not only ours, but the global economy as well. At present, preliminary estimates are impairing, and they suggest that the economic downturn in developed countries can reach 7 or 10% this year, and this is natural. But our main goal was to protect citizens in Azerbaijan. Therefore, restrictive measures have played a major role. If we hadn't taken these steps, the situation could have got our control, as it did in many countries, including developed ones. I am sure that we will achieve this because for several months now, the pandemic has been a major problem for the whole world, but the fact that we are still keeping the situation under control can be considered a great achievement. Everyone should do everything they can. This once again demonstrates the highest qualities inherent in our people. I do hope that the pandemic will sooner or later end, and the atmosphere and the spirit of solidarity in our society will become even stronger after that. Taking this opportunity, I want to once again thank to head of the Council on State Support to NGOs under the auspice of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and Nargis Hanım also for you. I congratulate you and wish all of us continued success in our activity. Thank you for this inviting.
Thank you so much, Ayaz Malim, and you are right that economy will suffer. This is just investable, but the main thing that very important thing that solidarity mobilizing is I think all these things will help us in this very hard challenging process. And we have last member of our national NGO, am I right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, Ramil İskenderli.
Ramil Bey, buyurun.
Thank you very much. And I'm, as Nargiz Khanum said, representative of National NGO, Legal Analysis and Research. I actually want to say thanks to international participants for their valuable experiences for today. Shortly, I will talk about the future prediction in a global level of the coronavirus issue and implications in Azerbaijan. Actually, many experts come to the opinion that only countries with a strong economy will be able easily to overcome the problem. The countries are mainly the developed countries, such as Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, Germany, Finland, etc. And even in this case, actually many countries are trying which have clear strategy and system in place will be easily overcome the problem. There are 4 main criteria for the overcoming the coronavirus problem, which experts come into opinion. These are the following. Actually, countries with strong economies, it's obvious, and in case of Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan is an oil-rich country and quite enough resources are spending in fighting against corruption. On the issue, the second criteria is a minimal political risks. And actually in this term, also Azerbaijan has almost no problem. The vast majority of population supports the current government, and there is no prediction of any kind of problem or disturbance or any kind of risings in Azerbaijan in the future, which makes easier to follow the strategy and system of fighting against corruption. Good infrastructure, the third criteria, is also actually in place in Azerbaijan, which and because many hospitals and complementary facilities are building in Azerbaijan, necessary plants with the production of materials which are necessary for fighting against coronavirus. And the last thing is the criteria is a low level of corruption. Actually, a new wave of anti-corruption activities are ongoing in Azerbaijan, and many local and some of local and central authorities are detained for the last time, and this is also a part of actually which makes easily to overcome the problem. And in the future, Azerbaijan, in line with the criteria and rules by the World Health Organization, are following all the rules, and I think that I'm optimistic on this issue, and we will overcome very easily this problem. I wish to all of us and to all of you, of course, to back to normal life, but with new realities, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your wishes. I want to thank one by one each of our participants which joined us, which now at this moment watching us. I want to thank the participants from our guests from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Turkey, European Youth Parliament, Russia, from UK, Ukraine, Poland, and of course 3 of us participants from Greece, France, and Slovakia couldn't join for now, but for sure that we will send them our statement as well. And I just ask you to pay attention to this statement. We will send it to your email addresses, and we will better to go forward and to look through this statement, because we will send it to World Health Organization, and perhaps for future our countries which will join us. And I can't say that exactly by action today we will do some huge things, but I'm sure that even this little solidarity which we are getting together, sharing our opinions, and which we've already done with the Russian Foundation together, like we did joint campaigning, we can do this kind of things all together. And after this period, which will come post-pandemic period, that will not, I hope so, I hope that everything will be fine, but there are some realities, which that realities we have to overcome together by solidarity and by unity of our actions. I again want to thank all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for accepting our offers. And I hope so that for future we will contact directly in each of our countries, and we'll see and will not only share this workable, how to say, opinions, and also can see it, can enjoy our days together. So thank you so much. Mən istəyirdim bizim yerli təşkilat nümayəndələrimizə də təşəkkür edeyim. Qoşulduğunuza görə hər birinizə təşəkkür edirəm, minnətdaram və işlərinizdə uğurlar diləyirəm. So thank you so much. Uşaqlar çox sağ olun. Yeah, of course, huge thanks to our team, of course.